And thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I want to begin by identifying that I'm Chris Calkins, and I'm part of a group of citizens that are concerned about assuring responsible development, even in this time of a heated time of housing shortages. We all realize the importance of new housing, particularly affordable housing for Encinitas. We're not the first community to wrestle with these issues. More than 65 years ago, a large multifamily project was built in a predominantly single-family area of Chicago with the intent to create more affordable housing for the community. Cabrini Greens was a well-meaning attempt to address a housing problem like we see today. Nobody was at fault in what happened, not the developer, not the city council. But the result ultimately was an unlivable and ultimately disgraceful place for the low-income and moderate-income families that were forced to live in it, and ultimately was torn down. I point that out because of the importance of you giving care to the design, to all of the issues, and to the standards that the city has for its housing, because those are ultimately what are going to make the quality of life, not only for the residents of this project, but for the residents of the community, appropriate and right. Nobody can fault the developer for trying to get as much as he can from this property, particularly since the developer doesn't live in the area and is concerned it's entirely trying to find ways to turn this land into its most profitable use. Nobody faults the city council for wanting to address the housing problem. But we do not want the city to fail to follow its own standards in approving this development. Your job is not to prevent housing, but to see that the rules are followed, and that what finally comes out reflects the kind of standards that the city has set up and that nothing is short-circuited. We believe the project as proposed does not meet the city standards, even as modified by the state direction, and should be returned to the developer for modification to be consistent with the city standards. Let me see if I can. What am I doing wrong here?
Chris, I can switch the slides for you.
Okay. All right. So this just to point out, it reminds you again of the importance of this. Number one, this is a large, almost massive set of structures. 2 buildings, 6 to 7 stories, maybe the largest buildings in Encinitas. There are impacts to sensitive habitats and threatened species, but there is no sequel review if all the standards are met. And there are ultimately potential threats to health and safety of to project residents and the surrounding community. These are things to take into account. So let me point out the issues that we want to raise. Number one, we think the project does not qualify as a by right project and therefore is not exempt from CEQA. Number two, we think requirements for deed-restricted inclusionary housing are not met. Number three, we think the base density for the project, against which the density bonuses are calculated, is that they should be by net acreage, not by gross acreage. We think there's a failure to address and update the study of project impacts to sensitive habitat and species, and that precludes issuing the CDP. We believe the project fails to meet required objective design review standards, and we believe the requested waivers are not supported and that they impact public health and safety. I'm going to address the first 3 briefly. The next 3 are going to be addressed by Mr. Stern and Mr. Gherkin. So let's go to the first one. If you can change it. The ability to have a for right development is based on the fact that 20% of the units are affordable to lower income households during the planning period. This is a government code provision. It's very straightforward. 20% of the units. The plain language is the units. That means that it should be 20% of the 485 units. But that's not what the developer is proposing. The developer is proposing only about 14%, and even if you did it on the market rate, they're only proposing about 17%. There is an attempt by the city and by a letter from HCD that purports to say, well, you know, really we think it should be net. But that's not the law. That's not what the law says. The law says that it's got to be 20% of the total units. It's straightforward, and there's no reason to be trying to find a way around it, when the purpose of this housing is in large part to develop a larger base of inclusionary, affordable housing. So if I can talk about the next one. Probably the thing that I'm most concerned about was the issue that was raised earlier, which is that we're calculating the maximum density using a gross acre standard. HCD policy, first of all, we have the city's code requires that you use net acres. That's what the code says. That's not been amended. There was a resolution by the city council attempting to say we should use gross here. But in fact, the law is that you should use net acres in order to determine the base density. And from that density, what the number of units that should be allowed. We're not saying that they don't get the density bonus. We just think it should be done consistent with the city's standards. And the city does have, and HCD does acknowledge that cities may use, well, I guess I'm done.
Yeah, close with a sentence.
Well, what I would urge you to do is send this project back and let the developer develop it in accordance and come back with a proposal that's consistent with the city standards, with a density that's appropriate to the site and the city's standards, as well as affordable housing that really does reach the objectives laid out by the city and HDD. Thank you.